evening. I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. Tonight, we will be continuing our conversation with the Executive Director of Housing NOLA and President of the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance, Ms. Andreanecia Morris. Coming off the holidays, most people are worried about one thing: money. How to save it, how to make it, and how to make sure you don't lose more of it in this coming year. Now tonight we will discuss the passing of the Housing Trust Fund home ownership opportunities for the first time, buyers, and of course insurance, that bugaboo that never lets us rest without worry. Ms. Morris, welcome back to the Affordable Housing Show, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me back.
You're welcome, and congratulations on your effort to get the Housing Trust Fund passed. And for those who don't really know what it is, can you fill us in?
Sure. So in November, the city of New Orleans, the people of New Orleans, voted to change the city's charter to require that 2% of our general operating revenue be set aside exclusively for housing, to create, maintain affordable housing opportunities for the people of New Orleans. And it directs the city council and the mayor to have those funds available, to program those dollars, and to make accountable to the people of New Orleans how those dollars are going to be spent, so that we can stop having these conversations like we did last month about where's the money, and starting with the money that we are putting towards it. What we've seen in the past, what we talked about last month, was that we've got policymakers making choices, saying we're not going to fund X, and then going, why is this not working? What the people of New Orleans said very clearly is, you're going to take some of our money and spend it on us, and spend it on the biggest problem we have right now, which is keeping people in their homes, keeping people housed, and giving people the chance to be housed and to make New Orleans their home long term.
So what is the status of the trust fund as we speak?
So right now we're starting with getting the advisory committee stood up, so that that advisory committee can meet, hear from the public, hear from partners about what the priorities need to be, and then by later this year, the city council will move to adopt the budget. We anticipate that's going to happen around in the fall for the budget process, because the advisory committee is going to meet at least 3 times over 3 quarters, make recommendations to the New Orleans City Council. This is all going to happen in full view of the public. And then the council will, after hearing those priorities, after hearing those requests, formalize the budget, and then talk about which of the partners are going to be allocated the resources, and talk about how they're going to manage the money, and when they're going to come back and report, most importantly, on how those dollars got out the door.
How will this work long term?
So one of the things that's great about it long term is that we're going to do this every year in perpetuity.
Okay.
So every year, so this isn't just one-time money. Every year we will be going through this process of, what did we do with last year's money, and what are we going to do with this year's money, and hear the pressing issues of the day. Hopefully at some point, if we do this right, the insurance crisis, and if we use this also to leverage the other dollars that are coming in, the federal dollars that are coming in, disaster relief, the money from the state, the investments from the state, and the other local housing dollars, right? So that we can also monitor their impact, monitor their deployment, and coordinate this all together. And that's not just for building or creating housing opportunity. It's also talking about addressing the needs of the unhoused. Let's really put a plan together. Let's really coordinate these investments, and let's give us the chance to get more money. And insurance will no longer be the #1 priority. It could come that at some point, it could also be a number. We could also have a challenge like another pandemic. That could be the new priority. The council will be able to move in response to that, making those dollars more, investing those dollars more. But we know that there's not going to be a crisis that this city is not going to face that doesn't involve housing. And that's one of the things that the trust fund makes clear, that we need to be investing our own money in our community to make sure that everyone's housed.
So we have a trust fund. Because the citizenry voted for the money to be allocated there.
Correct.
All right. So we know how much money is going to be in the trust fund.
It's a percentage, so it
It's a
varies from
percentage.
year to year,
Right,
but yes.
right. And so there's somebody to manage this trust fund,
Correct.
and then there's somebody to make decisions about where the money is going.
Correct.
Okay, and so where do the developers come in?
So the developers are going to be talking to the advisory committee, making presentations, talking to the administrators, and saying these are our needs, these are our projects, these are the programs that we want to see happen. These are the policies that we need to deploy these dollars in a way that makes sense. These are some changes that we need to make. For example, the city of New Orleans right now is dealing with a fair housing complaint because the city is inconsistently deploying strategies that we've put in place before, the ability to grant permits to people. That's not working the way that it's supposed to be working all the time. So we not only need to talk about where the money is going, we need to talk about the rest of the system as well. But the dollars give us a really clear way of having it. If a project that has been set as a priority is delayed, we need to have a real frank and honest conversation about where the shortfalls are happening, where the challenges are, and who is responsible for either clearing the road or getting out the way.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be snide or a smart aleck. It's a fact that up to this point, there has been a lot of dysfunction in city government.
That's right.
What makes you think there won't be any dysfunction in this process?
Well, part of the way that this is designed is that the city of New Orleans, the office of the mayor, won't be involved directly in the administration of these dollars because they have enough on their plate already. They already have the funds from the federal government that they're managing and that they have those challenges with. These dollars, the council is going to hear the priorities and deploy them to two agencies outside of city government, the Redevelopment Authority and the Finance Authority, both of whom have track records for getting large amounts of money out the door. And again, but still, no one's perfect. There's still accountability built into this. They've got to sing for their supper. Right? So you've got folks who have demonstrated the ability to receive dollars and to coordinate around these policies and then keep the projects moving at the multifamily level, at developers, and most importantly, putting money into people's homes, putting money into people's either small mom and pop landlords or our small developers or homeowners, people who are struggling right now with everything from their utilities to their insurance to their mortgage. And the math ain't mathin'. And so you've got two agencies that have worked with both sets of those populations, the individual homeowners and small mom and pop landlords, as well as large developers who are going to, meet some of the big needs that we have and continue, and we need them to continue to do that and hold both sets accountable, but also provide them with what they need, right? What we typically end up doing is homeowners, individuals are pencil whipped, right? Everything from code enforcement to property taxes, they get chim, and they don't get any relief. And then it feels like the developers are given huge swaths of resources and not held accountable for how they deploy those dollars, how are they helping those individuals. And we've got to make sure that we got partners who are capable of flipping the script, if you will, right?
Okay, so when we flip the script, how is all of this going to affect home ownership opportunities?
So one of the things that we should be seeing is an increase in home ownership opportunities, first-time home ownership opportunities, as soon as possible. One of the things that has happened in the city of New Orleans is that New Orleans has not been providing any direct subsidy to developers to help them create first-time home ownership opportunities. The city has put aside for the last few years a very modest soft second program that gives people closing cost assistance and down payment assistance, which is really amazing. They've been doing that for a couple of years, but we need to create inventory. We need to create opportunities. We need to make sure that we're addressing the insurance crisis so that people can stay in their homes. And then we've got programs in place that let people grow, right? So if we create a first-time home ownership opportunity that says you're going to be exactly at We're gonna set you up to fail, if you will. We're gonna help you find a home, or we're gonna have someone build you a home, and we're gonna require that you spend more than you can afford.
That's an awesome challenge.
But it's math.
Okay.
Some of this is just math. It's just math. It's what does the land cost? What do the construction costs are? What can the person actually afford, especially when you factor in utilities, right? Are you making that home energy efficient? Are you making that home, are you building it to our new standards so that the insurance can come down? Are you setting that person up for success? And so you can do that. And we need resources to do that, and we need the will to do that. Because one of the things that we got with the trust fund victory was a clear mandate that folks voted for. They voted for a trust fund that made sense, that was organized, that recognized where folks are struggling, where some of our policymakers are struggling, and saying, okay, you're not good at this, you don't need to have your hands in it.
Just like that.
That's just like that, just like that. You may not necessarily be good at it, but you have responsibility, and we're going to hold you to it. That's the city council. First group is the city, the mayor's office. Second group is the city council. You could be good at it. We're going to demand that you be good at it. And working with agencies and entities that have a track record, and they've got to be also held accountable. They've got to design programs that work for homeowners, work for small mom and pop landlords, and work for renters so that their landlords can provide them. Like, we've got to keep the people first and foremost in mind. Developers, landlords, policymakers, y'all all work for us. Y'all inside of the housing system, you're supposed to be helping us keep our housing safe, keep our housing secure, and keep our housing in New Orleans. That's what they're supposed to be working on. And that's one of the things that the trust fund, the mandate that the people of New Orleans delivered and said very clearly is, we want y'all doing y'all jobs. And in the past, what we've seen is policymakers use some of the inconsistencies and some of the skepticisms around broken programs to say, well, see, the people don't really want that. No. They were saying they don't want the nonsense. When you put a
actually, what they were saying is that we don't trust you.
That's right. When you give them
to have a program that works.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so when you give them a clear line, they speak very clearly. They speak very emphatically. They say, we want you to choose us. Not go, not, and you said it really well. That's why you're you. And they were like, yeah, we don't trust you. We don't believe you. It's not that we don't think this is important. We don't believe you. We don't believe you have a strategy. And so nowhere is there that more true than the first-time homeownership efforts that we've seen really struggle and flail over the last few years. And so you've got to stabilize people who have already gone through first-time homeownership programs or bought their home or inherited their home. You got to stabilize all of those folks. And then
how do you do that? Well, I mean, because you're talking about a vast number of people.
Right. That's right. We are. We're talking about a lot of folks, and that's the insurance bugaboo. That's the insurance bugaboo. We've got to deal with that. There's not a real way to talk about this, about how we're going to live in New Orleans long term without dealing with insurance. And we can. Part of it is making these investments. We've got to reduce the risk. The insurance crisis is simple. It's our homes and our buildings that house our businesses are in terrible condition, and given the state of climate change and our failure to do anything about it, those are the two problems. And the insurance companies go, the risk is, this is what you need to pay us in order to meet the risk, to make sure that we have money to give you, right? Now, I'll be the first person to say the insurance companies are as responsible as anyone for the state of our housing, right?
Explain that.
Everything from named storm deductibles to the way the adjusters have been, frankly, not doing right by people, that making those policies almost seem worthless, right? The insurance companies wanting to keep as much money in their pockets as possible and not wanting to pay off claims the way that they need to. That's part of the reason we're here. That does not. Their culpability is without question.
Doesn't that complicate the quest for affordable housing?
Yes, it does. It absolutely does, because it's a trust issue. It's right. They're part of the problem. How do we trust them to be a part of the solution? And we don't. That's why we have regulators. That's why our insurance commissioner needs to be getting on his job and holding them accountable. And we need to be talking about making investments in homes that negate, because regardless of what you think about the insurance companies, and I got a lot to say about them, our homes need to be safer, period. They need to be safer for us. They need to be safer for our families and our neighbors. Our homes simply need to be safer.
I want to go off script just for a moment, because this is something that I have a personal issue with. Why are we still building homes on slabs?
Because we're not making the right investments to make it so that people can elevate their homes. And not everybody is below sea level, right? There are parts of New Orleans that are
very few parts,
especially now when you look at the new requirements, the risk rating 2.0, those and there's some questions about that. There are fewer and fewer places where you should be building slab on grade. Yeah, you're correct about that. And we need
Doesn't
to be
that impact insurance as well?
Yes, but that mostly impacts flood insurance.
Ah, okay.
That mostly impacts flood insurance.
And the bugaboo is?
The big bugaboo right now is property insurance.
Property insurance, okay.
Flood insurance should have been, if we had not had COVID and not struggled with so much disinvestment, we'd be arguing about flood insurance with the same that passion and veracity as we are about homeowners insurance. But homeowners insurance just came and eclipsed the flood insurance problem. So we've got two problems when it comes to insurance: homeowners and properties insurance, as well as flood insurance. And that's also at a federal level. We've not seen, again, the investments necessary to stabilize that program. That's a federally funded program. The National Flood Insurance Program is a government program.
So when we talk about the problem with exorbitant property insurance for homeowners, is that why we're hearing rumors about another housing market collapse?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
We are headed towards, this is the catastrophe we have long predicted. This is before, and it could take us out before another hurricane direct hits us, or it could be the thing that makes it impossible for us to come back when the big one comes.
That sounds doomsday.
It is.
That sounds dire.
It is.
Would you explain to our viewers why you have that opinion?
We're seeing population loss. We're losing population. That's something that's been happening for quite some time. It's getting worse. You have people either selling their homes because they can't afford the insurance, or they're being evicted. And this is one thing that a lot of people have to get clear about. The insurance crisis is affecting everyone. Everyone.
That's right.
Homeowners and renters. Renters are not escaping this. Their landlords' mortgages are going up. The insurance is going up. They pass that on to their tenants in the form of triple-digit increases in monthly rents, which is what we've been seeing on average for the last couple of years. So adding $100 per month to rent that folks couldn't afford before that. And so we're seeing, we're poised for a collapse, especially when we have so much vacancy, so many opportunities, so much need. We're poised for a major collapse, not just in New Orleans, but in Metairie. This is the Louisiana problem, and we're already seeing it in North Louisiana. Earlier this year, over 1,500 apartments were abandoned by their landlords. These were multifamily apartments.
They were abandoned by their landlords
because they couldn't swing the insurance, the operating costs. They had people living in them, paying their rent. Landlords threw their hands up and said, "We're out. Good luck. We're out. We're pulling our staff. We are no longer operating this. We're shutting them down. Good luck. We are out."
That's
in Shreveport.
That's one hell of a calamity.
In Shreveport. Not Lafayette, not Lake Charles, not Baton Rouge, not Houma, Terrebonne,
not in
not New
coastal,
Orleans,
not in coastal Louisiana, but
Shreveport.
Shreveport.
So it's coming. It's coming.
You don't see any kind of way to head it off?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
No.
Rescue me.
Yeah, no. If we keep doing the same dumb stuff we're doing, if we keep talking about how do we incentivize the insurance companies to come down here, if we keep letting them charge us these exorbitant prices, forcing people to go without insurance in the hopes that they will come back and magically lower insurance. Yeah, that's what's coming. We can't interrupt this. We absolutely can. We absolutely can interrupt.
Well, what about this insurance bill that's supposed to be in the Senate? Senate Bill 484.
That was our last year, and the insurance commissioner, the governor, a number of legislators watered it down to the point where what has to happen is Senate Bill 484 was supposed to require that if you manage to get the money to make your home stronger, you would absolutely see a reduction in your insurance, because you got to make the home safer, and then you got to make the home sustainable, right? So the house has to be sustainable, and then you got to be able to stay in it.
Is that like the stronger roof?
The fortified roof program. That's right. And so they watered that down to the point where it's not yet a mandate. And so we've got to go back to the insurance commissioner said, please don't make me make these people do this.
Why would he do that?
Because his philosophy is he would like to make the market as appealing as possible to insurance companies. Then they will crowd in here. They will rush to do business with us, and then they will magically lower their prices because there's so many.
That sounds rational, doesn't it?
No. You heard me say magically? No. Because the problem is the risk. No matter how many insurance companies are willing to write policies here, if we don't address the risk, if we don't talk about the fact that we're building slab on grade, the fact that our roofs are not able to sustain rainstorms, regular rainstorms, much less Category 3 hurricane events. If we can't talk about the fact that people can't make improvements in their homes because they can't afford it, because their insurance companies didn't pay them out, so their house is leaking from the last and getting more damage. If we can't fix those things, doesn't matter how many insurance companies are here, they're gonna go, you're too big of a risk, Norman. Here's what we can charge you based on the risk. Your house is not in great shape, and even if your home was a fortress, the insurance company is gonna go, they got a raggedy house across the street from you. If it collapses, it's gonna blow right into your house. So we gotta keep that in mind. It's not something that we can do as individuals. It truly requires a community approach. And that's why one of the things that we pushed on with the trust fund was the city of New Orleans being able to put some of its own money towards its big crisis, instead of sitting there and saying, well, we can't do anything about the insurance crisis, that's for the state to do. We can't do anything about flood insurance, that's for the federal government. No, we're all in this together, and we're all gonna have to pull in the same direction and in the same way, and it starts with making sure everyone has a safe, resilient home. That's how everybody gets out of this. It's not going to be something where some rich person is able to go to some enclave, either in the city or in the North Shore or somewhere else.
So how does the state ensure that everybody is provided with a safe home?
So they start by making sure that the dollars that they have to invest. So for example, there's a fortified roof program that the state administers. They've given the Department of Insurance millions of dollars to design a program to help people put the fortified roofs on, and I actually work with their foundation issues and build to these acceptable standards. How that program is designed is laughably bad. It's so far.
What do you mean?
The number one, a fortified roof on average costs $15,000. This is a grant program. They're only providing $10,000. So you're saying off the bat you got to have $5,000. And given what we know about the average Louisianian who is a homeowner, most of them don't have $5,000. That's why with the first iteration of this program, they saw a third of the people who qualified for the program disqualified.
Because they couldn't afford.
They couldn't afford the gap. Now they're going back, and we've been urging them to do this, and that was one of the things that did get passed in SB 484, is that they needed to work with nonprofits who actually have secured some other resources for low to moderate income folks so that they can get through these programs and stretch their dollars. So for example, if you have a nonprofit that has raised $15,000 to help one person, they can work with the state and say, we're going to take our $15,000 and close the gap on 3 of your homeowners, instead of you disqualifying those 3 people because they don't have the $5,000. So instead of the nonprofit helping one person, they can help 3 people, and we've got the dollars working together. But we've also, so that works for low to moderate income homeowners, people who have inherited their homes, people who are struggling with, who don't make a lot of money. But we've also got to get really clear about folks who don't qualify for those kinds of programs, but still don't have $5,000 laying around. And often, because of the state of your home, it's not just the $5,000. You may also have termites. We've seen gaps as high as $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, because in addition to the roof, there are other things that need to be fixed.
This almost sounds insurmountable.
It's not.
It's not.
Absolutely, no, it's absolutely not. That's the rhetoric that our leaders hope we fall for, that they can't do anything about it. It requires, it's math. It's simple math. Where else can you get the money? Where else can you get the money from? There are programs, the state has gotten hundreds of millions of dollars to create solar programs. So if you're gonna put on a solar system, you gotta strengthen the roof before you put the solar system on. So instead of just looking at one place for the money, you can stack opportunities on top of each other, funding that's coming from energy efficiency programs that our utility companies pay for, like Energy Smart, and that they provide resources for. But you've got to instead of letting them go because again, programs like Energy Smart and our energy efficiency programs, when they're run by the utility companies, you're telling them, if you make that home more energy efficient, you are going to make less because you're charging less. So why are you trusting that utility company to run a program that's designed to make them less money?
We've run out of time, but it sounds to me like this is bigger than the insurance commissioner.
Correct.
All right. We're going to have some state legislators in here to have this discussion.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been very informative.
Thank you.
Andreanecia Morris, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Norman.
You're welcome. That will conclude our program for this evening. We hope you found it informative and helpful. Also, if you missed any episode, don't worry, just click on the QR code on the screen and it will take you directly to our WLAE-TV YouTube page, where you can view all of our programs at your own leisure. I'm Norman Robinson, and we will see you again next time right here on Affordable Housing Matters.